Yeah, right.
We'll see.
You
We'll
going?
endures. Welcome to another episode on Oak and Rock Fatherhood. I am your host, Zachary Small, joined by Anthony Migliorino. Anthony, what's going on, brother?
Nothing much, brother. Things are good. Life is good. Looking forward to this conversation as always.
And what are we talking about tonight? Like how I threw it your way? Because you can't talk? A family friendly show
Ah,
this is. No, I got it, man. So when we look at parents and social media, I recently fell down the rabbit hole of, actually, this is Anthony's fault, of TikTok parents basically using their children as props to get the likes, to get the views, to get the laughs, but always at the expense of the child. I watch dads promoting booze when the kids are struggling, moms kicking cups, dads slamming things, dads shooting laptops, moms screaming at the top of their lungs to replicate what the kid was doing. It was insane. And I'm looking at the views and the comments. You do catch that diamond in the rough of like, this is not funny. This is messed up. You're like, what are you doing to that kid? But that is the diamond in the rough. All the dirt, the majority of what you see are parents championing this. Parents who are all about it. They're like, yeah, tantrums. Let's drink some wine. Let's drink some vodka. That's why daddy has whiskey hidden under his pillow. All the moms that are making their kids scream. And I look at this and I wonder, like, what are you doing to your kids? Why is this funny? And Anthony, I guess let's kick it off with that. Why the hell are parents doing this? It's clearly not fun for the kid.
yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, it's disheartening. It's horrible to see. I can't believe what they promote and how, you know, just how sinister it is to a degree, right? You have I sent you that one with the father who his son was freaking out. And he's like, "Yeah, we know how to handle with this." And he cracks the wine bottle open, fills his glass, and he's like, "After this glass, the problem's going to be gone. I won't hear him anymore." And that was kind of mild compared to what some of the stuff that was on there. I don't know, man. It's like a different world. It's like we live in a time where um, kids are demonized. Kids are treated like no one cares about them or that they're lesser human beings. And not only they're treated like that, right? It's promoted. They promote this craziness, um, and other parents applaud other parents for who can be the most creative with making fun of their child or just acting rude. Who can come up with the best gimmick to make them look silly or stupid?
We did a video on kids and social media, and I brought this question to Twitter, and people are pretty active about it. They were understanding where I was going with this. They understand what it is I was saying. And as we run these Q&As and these live sessions, I think it's important that we have this discussion in the moment because people can see, A, this is literally how I feel about this. These are genuine thoughts, they're riffing as we go. But B, we need to make this discussion a little more normalized. Like, hey, why are you doing this to your kid on there? I believe there are some people out there who have friends who do this and they just shake their head at it and they never address it because they're uncomfortable talking to another parent about parenting. They're uncomfortable to have that discussion of, hey, I don't think what you're doing is best for your son or daughter. I don't think it's good for their development. It's not good for them as a person. The one I'm thinking of right now, it made me feel like wicked bad. There was a mom and the kid was playing G.I. Joe and she's like, oh, you like this G.I. Joe? This is a cool G.I. Joe. She's like, oh, but you know what I really liked? I really liked that bowl that you knocked over. Remember that bowl that you broke? It was like this. And she snapped the kid's toy in front of him. And the kid's like, what the fuck? And he just started crying. And she's like, oh, you don't like it, do you? And she snapped the other arm off. And it's just like, that's sick. That's some twisted stuff. And it's not like, oh, well, that's just the exception. He knows it's funny, and she's like, oh, don't worry. I think in the comments, it's like, she'll buy him a new toy or something anyway, so it's okay. No, it's not okay. Because look what you're doing to your kid. You're sitting there and just torturing them so you can get all these likes and views about how you did this to your child. How does that bring you together at all? And if she has friends who are seeing this, because this is on TikTok and people share their TikTok, they're trying to grow, they're trying to get social media, be an influencer, have an impact. That's the wrong fucking impact to begin with. But also, why has nobody said anything to this woman? Unless they're all broken. And that's kind of where my brain started going is like, damn, man, like we're doing this and I always ask the question, I ask you, I ask everybody, like, are we in an echo chamber to where we see the dad sort of guys growing, we see this movement growing? But then you go to something like that and you see the huge number. I'm talking thousands and thousands of views, hundreds of thousands of views and positive comments. And I'm just like, dang, I don't get disheartened. Like, it doesn't make me sad in that sense. But I'm just like, holy shit. Like, there's a whole society out there that's just like totally still on board with like treating our kids as second class citizens. And I can't fucking wrap my head around it, dude.
Yeah, it's sick, man. And think about that. Imagine if there was anybody else in society that we were doing that to, right? And this isn't like making a joke with your friend and saying, "Hey, clowning around." This is deliberately trying to hurt somebody's feelings, to try to make them feel bad. And if we treated anybody like that in society, besides a child, there would be outrage, right? You can't even talk about half the things going on in this day and age without somebody getting upset. But yet you can go on TikTok or you can go on social media and you can see parents mistreating their kids and people are applauding it and they want more. Think about how sick that is, dude. It's I don't know, man. It's really strange when you say it. I would say one thing that I've changed in my life, and one thing that I've had a standard that when I'm around other people, I don't let them speak about their kids that way. I don't accept it, right? I don't want to be around it. I do speak up. I will say something. And I've said this before. If somebody smacks their kid in front of me, I'll be like, "What are you doing? Right? What's going on, man? Why do you think it's appropriate to hit a kid?" If somebody is yelling and speaking mean or even manipulating their kid, absolutely, I'd say, "What are you doing? Right? What's happening? Why do you feel this is okay?" And I think to a degree we can call it abuse, right? It's the parents abusing their status, their power over their kids. And the reason why abuse continues to happen is because nobody does speak out against it, right? Everybody's willing to just let it slide and continue to see it happen, maybe for a laugh, or maybe because they're afraid to face how messed up it really is, right? If they speak out against it, the mob, all the other bad parents are going to attack them.
Well, and then you have to ask the question in that why why is the fear so ingrained there? Like why is it so heavy and thick? I mean, I wouldn't walk up if there was like Chuck Liddell, if there was some giant UFC fighter, I would never walk up and smack that dude and be like, "Let's go, bro." Like he fights people for a living. It just wouldn't be a good decision on my part. That's a very clear case of like be smart. You don't go and just start fights with dudes who fight and get paid billions of dollars to do so. They're good at what they do for a reason. Why do we look at parents like that who are hurting their kids? Why do we look at them and say, "I can't say that to them. That's off limits. I can't go up and smack that. I can't tell that woman to stop hitting her kid on social media for funny jokes." You said the mob, but I mean, who's really going to get upset about a parent saying that? Or is that something we're making up? Or is that something that you've seen? Or like obviously us coming across, we do so very direct. I understand the flack we catch because we're saying the thing directly. It's not intentional, but it's also understood like, yeah, you're probably going to push back because of the way I'm saying this. I get it. But these other moms, these dads who aren't content creators, they're not doing this online. They won't even talk to their neighbor and say, "Hey, man, you got to slow down with that. Like your kid is really in pain." And when I come over, and I'm making the scenario up, but I'm sure it happens. When I come over with my kids, your kid is like upset or always the brunt of your jokes. You're always picking at them. How can you have a healthy relationship? Why would you even bring a child into the world if that's how you're going to treat them? Like,
Yeah.
and we did a video on this. Should people have kids? We had a live stream with Alec from Fatherhood Reforged or Fathers Reforged. I always mess his handle up. It's Alec though. We've got the video with him. Fathers Reforged or Fatherhood Reforged. But basically, we were talking about should we tell people to have kids? And I came to the conclusion that no, we live it, but some people shouldn't have it. But if they want to, I'm open to it. Like, yeah, dude, I think this is the right path. It's my path, but I'm not telling you what to do. But if you're going to have them, do well, lead them well, be a good person to them. And I don't see that happening. And that's what really trips me out, man.
Yeah. Now think about that, right? Why can't we have that honest conversation? Why can't other men fathers speak to other fathers and say, "Hey, man, you're messing up your family, right? What you're doing is messed up." And that little chatter that you hear, they're not barking, but those are toenails on the floor, just to give you a heads up.
The dogs are creeping. They're getting ready to bark, man.
No, but why don't we have those conversations, right? Why can't we call out other fathers, or why can't we even have a conversation and saying, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" Like, if if the goal is to raise healthy families, to have strong kids, we can clearly see that that's the direction that the majority of people are not going.
There it is.
And we keep doing it though, right? It keeps happening. You keep seeing it. You keep seeing people post this stuff online. You keep seeing people, I make a post about, or I tweet about, not spanking your kids, and people go crazy, right? They get outraged. Well, I was spanked and I turned out fine. And they make all these things up. It's the same thing, right? I mean, look at the world we live in today, where if you don't get a certain medical procedure, you're labeled an outcast, or people are willing to use the government to force you to do stuff, or force you. You're not allowed to do stuff. It's a mob mentality. So I think it's this similar aspect, right? If we start saying we need to treat them like humans, right?
What a
We
concept, man. This is some
right,
deep shit.
bizarre. No, but think about that. We need to treat children like humans. We need to stop aggressing against them. We need to stop ridiculing them, criticizing and shaming them. And then as they grow up, they won't have as many problems. And not even that, they'll have better relationships with their parents, with their siblings, with their spouse, right? This is how we continue to build. But we don't have this well, we have them, but the majority of people don't have those conversations, right? They don't want to hear it. Um, and I mean, I don't know why, right? I don't know why so many people go this route. I can speculate and I can, have ideas about. Um, it's probably painful. It would be painful for you to understand that you were mistreated as a child, and then now you're just continuing the cycle onto your kids, and you don't even know why, right? You're doing it subconsciously. You don't even have a reason. If you ask these people, they would just, oh, that's what we do, right? We treat kids like crap. It's normal. Um, so it's disturbing to me when I see it, right? It's disturbing that it gets so much attention, it gets so much popularity, and so many people enjoy it. Man, it's almost sadistic, right? Like you put it on, and there's a father or a mother tormenting their son, breaking their toy, or yelling at them, and and people comment, they love it, and then you'll see a TikTok or you see a video, um, where a mother's trying to comfort her son and be a good parent, and it gets maybe a tenth of the views, right? Nobody pays attention to it. It's
Dude,
weird, man.
it is. And to go beyond that, I wonder if when we're looking at these things, what we're seeing is a product of how we've looked at children for the past 20 years. Let's say that the people watching this, the average age is, I don't know, 15 to 23. That's the younger market. I mean, I'm 35 and I'm scrolling it. So I really don't know what the age is on TikTok. It is a newer platform. I guess the old folks are rolling in. I don't know. Here's what I do know. Here's the question I do want to ask. I wonder when I'm looking at this, and this is another rabbit hole I fell down, because we've told mothers for so long that motherhood is not a job. Motherhood is not your purpose. It's not your identity. You're a strong, independent woman. You can go out there and work. That should be your focus to show that you can do all the things men can do. It's a big message that's pushed out there. So these mothers, they don't, when they see like, yeah, that kid, let's laugh at him. We drink because of him. My kids are these ball and chain and I'm just a wino because of it. And that's mommy's juice, right? And she has a big sweatshirt on and she's miserable. And so the pain that she can cause in the other, or just lashing out at something, that brings joy. And these other moms get on like, yeah, let's drink and let's do all this. And, let's mock our kids and make fun of them. And then you have the people who are hurt as kids, and they take a sort of pride or a sort of, I'm not in the pipeline anymore. It's like, think about the Spartan who left a Gogi and he's watching the younger men get their asses kicked. When you see men, like, so I actually use myself. When I was in school and we had to go past boot camp, I was like, hi, look at those guys. I'm not that guy anymore. Getting wrecked, having to stand and walk with pivots and all sorts of weird uniforms. There's a sense of, well, look at them. They're going through something I had to go through, but I'm above it now. How many of those teenagers, young adults are looking at these kids, laughing at them because, oh, I remember when my dad used to do that to me. Yeah. And so they totally accept it because it's normal. Yet the banner I've got running across the bottom are children second-class citizens. People would immediately say no. As well, especially Americans. Yeah, we're in the land of the free. Really? Because if we look at we harm kids, we emotionally torment kids, we psychologically torment kids, physically harm children, we use objects to harm our children, we take things from them, we don't allow them to express themselves, they're not allowed to make any decision. And then we blame them when they're frustrated and don't know how to use their words when they're 4 years old. How, where in this are you saying that you're treating them like a first class citizen, as an equal? I've shared multiple times. I listen to my kids argue, man. Like they will argue against me. And I come from a military household. So I don't want to hear my dad is militant, so is mine. Literally, he was in the military. I was in the military. My kids are not sailors or soldiers. It is not my job to raise up a fighting force in here. My kids are strong, like the fighting force is a family, hell yeah. But I don't run this like it's a boot camp because they're my children. They're not my recruits. And these dads, they can't leave that mindset. These moms can't leave that mindset, man. They're like, oh, it's what you do. The kids are your punching bags until when? When do they become not a punching bag? When they can fight back?
Yeah. No, exactly. Man, I see it. I agree with what you said, right? There's something that it's just normalized through generations. It's the authority looking down, right? Or the strong looking down at the weak. And to me, if we are going to create a society that promotes freedom and liberty and once again is a a place where families are important, right? It's going to start with the people who are the strongest protecting the weakest, not vice versa, right? You can't have fathers who are obviously the physically strongest abusing that power over their kids for any way, right? Whether it's through physical force, manipulation, coercion, it's something that needs to be eliminated as a parenting tool, right? Or even as a tool to torture your kids. So that's how I see it. I see that if we're gonna bring strength to the family, right, there has to be a foundation to that. There has to be values and principles that the family lives off of. And it's so easy, we say this all the time, kids these days, right? It's so easy to blame the kids. So easy to blame society, or it's easy to blame the government. Right? I take that route way too often. But it's easy to blame. You can blame feminism, right? You can blame masculinity. There's all these things that we blame. But the truth is, if we were just to take a step back and realize that we need to stop mistreating children, right? Allow them to grow into healthy, high functioning adults, a lot of the problems we see in this world today would change, right? There's a lot of, and this is evident with just from the fatherless home statistics, right? We see addiction increasing, promiscuity, criminality. We see poverty increase when kids don't have fathers in the home. And imagine what that would look like if we had fathers in the home. And when those fathers were in the home, they were protecting their kids instead of abusing them, right? They were sticking up for them. They were helping them. They were actually being leaders instead of, the prison warden who's torturing, tormenting, and making them obey by cruel and just ridiculous punishments.
You see the standard, it plummets, dude. Like it is plummeting to the fact where we're enjoying the process of publicly mocking these children. You have a pretty great pinned tweet I'm going to look at right now. It says kids have it easy these days. They do not. 1 in 4 kids in the U.S. does not have a father in their home. All the conveniences, technologies, and comforts do not make up for how impactful a father's presence is in the child's life. That, combined with what we're saying here, if you don't have a dad to run to that's setting a good example, and you do have a mom who's caught up in the consumer culture, how is that child supposed to have a chance in life? They have no role model. They have nobody setting an example as to what a healthy communication relationship is. They have no sense of what values are because they're being taught the value is how you're observed by others. Because I'm sure these parents who do these things to these kids, oh, look, our video got this many views. And the kid's all happy then because it's hours later and they have their ice cream or whatever they're doing sitting near mom. And mom's like, hey, we're going viral. It's not about the phone though, but the kid's being taught if I do things that make mommy happy on video, she loves me. She gives me the ice cream. I get my toy back. That's a
Yeah.
little twisted, right? If those are the formative years, what do you think these kids are learning? And how are they supposed to grow into to fully functional adults? They're going to grow up to adults who watch videos of kids who get hurt and they're going to laugh. We're creating these monsters, man. I mean, they're
Yeah.
already having kids, and the next generation is going to be worse. What about when it's virtual reality? And these kids, that's their life. Because at home, they're a piece of shit. At home, there's somebody that's mocked. At home, there's somebody who's ridiculed. But when they put that headset on, they get to go be whatever hero is in their game. And they lose themselves to another world. Or they lose themselves to drugs. They lose themselves to addiction. All the things you said, they're going to find themselves wanting to get away because it hurts to be there. And mom's going to want to come back like, oh, we're buddies. We're close. We got all this great relationship going on. What? You're only saying that because now they're 15 years old and they can square up to you. Or they're going to be like, hey, I know what DCYF is. I'm going to call them on your ass. Like, you got to stop fucking with me. I'm trying to, like, do my homework. I'm trying to do this or that. You see parents exploiting their children all the time in any endeavor. I mean, Britney Spears is an adult woman who was under, like, what kind of, I don't conservatorship from her dad. And now her sister's, like, trying to mooch off her. Somebody on Twitter had brought up another YouTube channel. It's like Bro versus Sis. There's a lot of YouTube channels that started out very good fun, and then the parents realized they could monetize, and the parents realized they could affiliate, and all of a sudden the kid has to wear certain clothes, the kid has to do certain things, the kid is no longer having fun. They're a prop for the parent to say, hey, say this, and we'll make more money, and we'll go on vacation. And the parents are just squeezing that kid of all the joy they have and all the money they can get from them. And when it's done, they throw it to the side. And if anybody wants to challenge that, I was shared a story where a woman adopted a Chinese baby with disabilities, pimped it out on YouTube about how great of saints they were and how they took an adopted kid who was disabled and disability. They got all their money from charity, and people stopped sending money and their AdSense went down and they just stopped making money. And they literally sent the kid back to China. They sent that disabled kid who they had for years and they had this whole channel dedicated to, they sent him away to his country because he couldn't be pimped out anymore. I'm not making this shit up, man. This is real. This is really fucking happening, and it drives me insane because that's a real human being and one who had disabilities at that. So he might not even fully comprehend what's really going on, except I was here and it was stable and now I'm there. Views, the internet, validation from your peer group, it's not worth that little high you get of feeling relevant when it comes at the cost of the person that you have brought into this world. And I cannot stress that or say it in any better way. I get it. I've had the multi-thousand viral things go on Twitter. I've had the videos run. I've had the standing ovations, dude. Never has it crossed my mind that that high was worth me tucking my kids into bed, me making sure that they were being taken care of, and everything that they needed from me in our relationship was as good as a father can have with a child. And if we could get that to be the norm, you can have both. You don't lose your relevancy. You don't lose the impact you're making on the world. Even if it's TikTok, I know that's funny to say, but here we are on YouTube. How much better are we? We're on another platform to have a discussion. I mean, we have an Oak and Rock TikTok channel. So it's not that you can't use these things. You can totally use them. Use all of them. Who gives a shit if people are going to, oh, who do you think you are on Instagram? Who gives a fuck? I'm having a good life. I'm having a good time. I'm spreading good message. If you do it that way, yeah, you can have the world, man. But these parents are going for that evil path. And I think because I don't think like that, it's extremely difficult for me to really articulate the frustrations that roll, that come from this, because I'm trying to get into that headspace. And we've spoken about that. To understand these dads, you kind of have to like see it from their eyes and then deconstruct and then rebuild it back up. But this is very difficult for me. I was trying to do it that whole time and I didn't.
Yeah.
I would never do it, man. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, it's like when you watch a movie with a serial killer, you're like, what the hell is going through that person's mind? And how do you do such evil? And it's almost intriguing to a degree, right? To see how twisted somebody really is. I mean, if you think about it, social media is exposing how sick society is. That's what we're seeing, right? It's unfolding in front of our eyes. We're seeing, and what's weird to me is I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on, but we'll see like child sex trafficking, right? You'll see the current men in charge sniffing children's hair, and people will freak out, right? They'll be like, "Oh my God, this is horrible! Look how they're treating children. This shouldn't be happening." We had a video on pedophilia, right? How insane that is! What's going on with how children are treated, the sexualization, the sexual abuse. Um, and we see this like out in the world, out in current events. But if you were to really examine what went on in everybody's home, right? In one, just take one family's home, and you would see how they spoke to their kids, how they physically hit them, how they use coercion, manipulation, punishments. It probably, I would say, over half the time they spent in that house during the day, they're getting treated like a second class citizen, right? Like probably even worse, like a prisoner, right? I would guarantee prisoners get treated better than how a lot of these parents are treating their kids. And we don't even think about it like that because we say it's discipline, right? We're doing this for their own good. If I don't do this, my kid's going to be out of control. He's going to be unsafe. It's like the guy who says, I got to smack the crap out of my kid because he'll run out into the street in front of a car, or he'll grab the boiling hot, pot of hot water if I don't smack him. And they can't think beyond that, right? Because we're so conditioned to think that the only way to treat kids is by mistreating them and is by instilling fear, is by abusing our power over them. And they don't think outside the box, right? They're not thinking of other ways. Could you could you imagine if you thought like that in any other aspect of your life, right? If like you, if we said we're gonna start a company, right? You owned a business, and you were gonna go and treat your customers the way that you did your children. I'm not saying you in general, but
I would. I was like, it'd be great.
yeah, no,
I'd
you
be hugging
probably do
everybody.
excellent.
Come on in.
They'd be throwing the money at you, but it wouldn't work in any other area of the world. I mean, actually, I shouldn't say that. The one area that it does work the most is government, right? Government is to quote my boy Elon Musk, right? It's a monopoly on violence. That's how they exist. That's how they stay in power, by imposing force and violence on people. So it's almost like there's little dictatorships in everybody's home nowadays. And then they wonder why they turn on the news and the government's controlling every area of their life through threats, through force, right? We're gonna fine you, we're gonna imprison you, we're gonna God knows what, right? There's not a lot of freedom. The freedoms are being taken away, but that is all started in the home, right? What society is a reflection of the home. You have the micro and the macro, right? You have the house of parents being dictators, completely abusing and controlling their kids. That shows up later on in the world, and this is unfortunately this is a cycle of violence that we're seeing, and I don't. Besides promoting peaceful parenting and raising my kids outside of that norm, I don't know what much we can, what much more we can do than having these conversations and bringing the attention to it.
Well, that's the thing, dude. That's all you can do. And it is slowly working. But it's going to take the right conversation to hit the right person for them to have it with the right person to have a bigger impact. So it's cool. We're sitting here, we're having this talk. A big shout out to Mr. Finn. He says, "Yo, Rock and Oak." That's backwards, but I'll take it. But then he says, education begins in the home, and I couldn't agree more. So not only that, make sure you check out Mr. Finn. He's got his own channel. The guy's crushing. He's been making some big moves. Actually, we should get him on here, man. He should have just hopped on tonight if he's going to be in the chat. Great discussion. A family man who's just absolutely dominating and pushing forward on all fronts. But he absolutely is correct on the education beginning in the home. But I don't think people understand. I'm not talking literally education with understanding what's going on. There's education on how we treat and are treated by others. There's education on what a healthy relationship looks like. There's education on what the expectation is for an adult. Because if you're a child of a mother who's, like I said, and I'm saying moms specifically because dads catch a lot of shit for violence. We catch a lot of shit for being the authority. We're the spankers. We're the bigger ones enacting corporal punishment. Moms, it's more psychological, and TikTok is psychological. I When I was scrolling, it was maybe 5 father videos to like 50 mothers. There's way more women doing shit to their
Yeah.
kids to mess with them than dads. Dads had a lot of stupid shit. Absolutely, I hate the Peter Griffin. I hate the dad bod. There are a lot of dad jokes, of dads self-deprecating themselves. But at least they're taking a lot of shit out on themselves. The moms always involve the kids, and it was tripping me out, dude. Because, like, I mean, I saw moms twerking with their toddlers, like getting them, dude. This is your fault again. I just want everybody to know this little riff that I've been going down the rabbit hole I fell on. You basically kicked me into it. Like, hey, check this out, and I'm like Dragon Ball Z, like the flames just shot out. I was like, damn it, like that's not what I wanted for today. But again, it's necessary. You got to know what's going on to address it, and that's why we're having this. We've got another video we'll be doing on it, and there are a few that we want to break down to kind of explain to people who think, oh, it's no big deal, why it is a big deal. It is a big deal that you're putting your kids on film and mocking them. It is a big deal that you're laughing while they're crying. It is a big deal that you're making yourself a source of pain when you're supposed to be who the child runs to. This child's supposed to trust you. Like they don't have any trust in their home. They go to school. They're catching shit there, especially if kids are seeing the video of them getting made fun of by the parents. So then they're getting mocked at school, mocked at home. Why do you think these kids run away, are always hiding, are joining gangs where at least they might be beating the shit out of innocent people and robbing stores, but they have people who care about them, or care about them to as far as a gang member will care about another. But like, hey, brother, I got you. I'll be the dad you didn't have. The dad didn't stand up for you. I'll take care of you. Come join us in our family. We look out for each other. Those kids are primed to be preyed upon by organizations like that. They're primed to be preyed upon by the government, 100%. Those are the families that they go after. The families that are broken. We had a discussion where we talked about war and how it splits families apart. And how in those countries, you take out the strong men, all that's left are predators, the sick, and the government's like, hey, let me take these kids. Let me get your innocence. It's sick. And people are like, oh, it won't be me. And that same mom will go and make that video on TikTok, mock the kid, and like, it is you. It's you right now. This is another brick on the path to hell. And you're paving it, and the kid's right behind you. And that's where you're bringing them. And you're not even thinking about it. And so when I see this, when I see it play out, you have to ask the question, at what point is enough enough? At what point do we start saying these videos need to get shut down? And I'm not saying censored by TikTok. TikTok is a platform, do their thing. I'm saying parents. If you shame people, you can shame them off the internet. We've seen many personalities, many brands do some stupid shit and get run off the internet. It happens. And if you start saying or doing things like that against kids, and enough people are like, no, hell no, we're not playing that anymore. Stop hitting your kids, stop making fun of your kids, stop publicly shaming your kids. Like, people will stop doing it because the money's not coming in, the validation's not coming in, they're being shamed. Like, oh, all right, I got to change tune. I want to keep my views up because that's the priority. And so if we could do that, I mean, it starts with conversations like this, as you said, but it continues when people make or have the bravado, the machismo to actually speak publicly on it. You know what? I didn't comment on that woman's shit. And I'm thinking about it now. I didn't put a single drop of support in that. All of those children that I saw today, no support given. I didn't make a single comment. I was just scrolling through and watching. So I'm somewhat being a hypocrite right now, but I am dedicating an hour to talking about it. So maybe that'll kind of balance the scale there. That'll help me sleep at night. I'm gonna go on and have to make a comment now. Like, no, fuck this.
Listen, don't be wasting time battling psychos on TikTok. No, you know what's weird to me? If you look back, right? Let's go back 20 years, 30 years. You would see TV shows, right? You had like Leave It to Beaver, Different Strokes, Cosby Show. There was a sense of a family unit, like a strong family unit, right? The father was always there, and there was always episodes. Like if you go to Everybody Loves Raymond. I don't know if you know that show. It's before your time.
No.
So you don't know any of the shows I'm talking about. That's cool. But
I
the,
try.
these are sitcoms from years ago, stuff I grew up on, and there was a real heavy family centered theme, right? It was a lot different from what we see now. At no time were parents ever yelling or screaming at the kids, right? There was always like this compassion, and if there was a problem, they got together as a family and they spoke about it. And even though it was just a TV show, It was really how things were dealt with back then. And then there came a phase where you had like Married with Children, right? And the unhappy husband. You started getting to Peter, the dad bods, and you had this normalcy of making fun of men, and men were stupid. The kids knew everything, right? This is what we see. Now we're even beyond that craziness, right? This is how messed up the world is. You go on social media, which gets more views than any TV network, and you're seeing this stuff with parents ridiculing, tormenting again, and just abusing their kids psychologically, emotionally, and sometimes even physically, right? So I don't know where we go from here, right? It's if you think about that, I'm not going to say progression, it's regression, right? We're going backwards, and there's there's no say about it, right? There's no pushback on it. There's nobody talking about it. There's nobody besides us. There's nobody saying that this is how we shouldn't treat kids. Right? This isn't normal. Like, what the hell is going on? We can, we can look at other countries and we can see how they mistreat kids, and majority of people will have no problem calling it out. I think what's happening, and I think it's pretty clear, right? Without if our kids aren't being raised to be confident, assertive, strong, powerful, like you said, they're going to be easily controlled. They're going to be easily manipulated. And I think that's part of the plan, right? Why else would this continue to go on, right? Why else are the majority of parents taking part in this just really awful practice, right? Of mistreating their kids, and why are there so few parents talking about that we shouldn't be doing this, right? It's not a common thing. If you think about, like, I could think personally, all the people I know, all the families I know, um, they're they're not the ones talking and promoting about protecting kids, about raising healthy families. The majority of them are in that crowd that are mistreating, that are really not promoting any good values, right? So the problem's not going to get fixed if we're always looking to go out and maybe vote every 4 years to get somebody else in office to change policy, to fix policy. And I truly believe if we're raising our kids better, society is going to be shaped better, right? If we're raising our kids in our homes peacefully, they're going to grow up. You're going to see less racism. You're going to see less hatred, right? You're going to see a lot better world where people are more accepting of each other because they're more accepting of themselves, right? They're not tormented their whole childhood. So of course they're going to grow up with inner hate. And of course that inner hate is going to be projected out onto other people, right? How are you going to love anybody or even accept anybody if you can't love or accept yourself, right? So these you said before, we're creating monsters. This is what's happening. This is why you see so much division in the world.
No, you're absolutely correct. And to think of the big picture and what you said there, there's no coincidence to any of this. I do not believe in coincidences. Things are planned and or allowed. The direction that we're heading with how I didn't even think of it. Again, it's not progression, but I see what you're saying. The increase in effort, the increase in how close it's going from parody to real world day to day. Homer Simpson was a cartoon and it was funny. It was based off the dads who would drink beer, whatever, but it became a thing. And it's almost like people wanted to bring that thing. Well, what's the next level? I can't remember who it was. We were talking to somebody and they said they're going to Homer Simpson, their son, or Bart Simpson. And we were both like, what the hell is it? Oh shit. You mean choke him? Is that what you're going to choke your son? And whoever that was, yeah, I'm calling you out right now, but I can't remember who it was. But think about that. It went from the Homer Simpson where it was kind of like, all right, cartoon funny. The Family Guy, all right, cartoon, funny. And then, there were a lot of sitcoms and stuff that kind of really amplified it and played to it. And now with social media, we're the entertainment and we're amplifying the cartoon. We're in our day-to-day life, we're trying to act like we're on shows. Those are actors. Those are paid actors who are doing that to each other. That man that you see messing around with that kid, on like Modern Family, he's got his son and his daughters. That man with him, Al Bundy with his son and daughter, those were actors. That dude was actually like a black belt in some form of like
Yeah,
combat
I don't know
sports.
if I believe that.
I saw it. I saw it online. It's real. But guess what? He didn't really talk to that lady like that. That's how he spoke to his actress wife. But people, they're taking the joke, they're taking the acting, they're taking the skits, and they're using it on the people they literally live with. Their real sons, their real wives. They're treating them like they saw on TV, like they saw in the movie. And you have to tell it, like, you don't get to turn it off, man. There's no like cut, wrap it up, that's a day. Like, no, that kid that you just made fun of all day and made videos about, they go to bed and you're supposed to be tucking them in. And you're like, oh, I love you, buddy. No, the fuck you don't. And that kid's gonna think that. You fucking made fun of me all day long. You made fun of mom. You made fun of my sister all day. And now you want to tuck me in and say, I love you. I'm a good dad. Eat a dick. You're not a good dad. You're a bad dad. You're doing a bad job at parenting your kid. You know, and for all the moms doing the same thing, it's not cool to have to get shit faced when you talk about your children. Mommy's wine glass. There's a reason my wife is sober. You know, she didn't have the same issue I had, but I remember somebody had said to her, they tagged her in a thing of wine, and she was like, no, I'm not that. It was something about like wine and kids, and she's like, I don't ever think about my kids like that. But the fact that somebody thought it, she's like, no, I'm out. I'm not doing this shit. You know, later on when I made my choice, she's like, no, I'll go with you. I don't like where this is headed. I don't like how people are starting to try to associate these things because that's not me. You know, and Jackie, like we speak frequently about fatherhood. Obviously, we're two dads, you know, but my wife and your wife are on this same page. You know, and people don't see that. We've had the discussions, but people don't see that. Maybe they don't know. So I'll address it now. The way I look to engage, my wife does her version of that. She doesn't do everything I do, like because she's not me, but she has her version of genuine connection with the kids, one-on-one time with the kids. They had a whole workout today while I was working, and she's up there training with them and doing push-ups and doing her thing and like the bike and whatnot. And it's just super cool because when she tucks them in, hey, I love you guys. They know their mother loves them. They know they're not some prop to be used for social media. You know, like rarely I share photos of my kids with very intentional messages, and not once ever has it been to mock them or to laugh at their expense. It's always, look how proud I am, or hey, we went to the beach and had a cool thing, and look at this shell, like me and my daughter, whatever. Like, never ever has it crossed my mind to be like, haha, look at them, and let's tease them for what? Fake internet points? I'm not going to put a real relationship on the line for electronic validation from a binary system. Before we go, though, we got Colton in the chat, says it normalizes being that way in the home. And he followed that up with constantly pushes the limits from wholesome to degeneracy as the acceptable norm. That's a great way to put that word. We kept saying progression. We degenerate. We are degenerating towards these sitcoms we made fun of and watched to what people are living. And it's really fucking kids up.
Yeah, it is. And to kind of spin it to a more positive vibe, right? Give it
I've had a
a
rough day,
little.
man. Like all day, I've just been like biting at people.
No, no, yeah, that's fine, man. It's we have to address the evils of the world, right? We have to expose evil to as men. That's our job. But I wanted to bring it, just to back to what I do in my home and how things, how we go about things and how we treat each other. Because I think it's easy to pick people apart, right? To point out all the bad things that parents are doing. And I think when you break it down, right, you really have to understand that most of these parents, that I would say the large percentage of them that you see doing these things, they need help, right? It's not that they're evil, it's not that they're bad people. They really need help. They need some guidance. And just like we influence our kids by being good examples, I think it's as much as it's important to call people out on their bullshit and on their evil, we have to share what we do, right? We have to share about how we go about our days and how we actually create healthy families, right? Because if we're always pointing out what everybody's doing wrong, how are they going to know what to do right? So, and like I said, it's my family. It's what we do. It's the values that I've instilled in my family, right? There's certain things that I take pride in. There's things that I uphold in my house, and with peaceful parenting, with parenting through basic principles, right? There's a lot of things I don't do. There's a lot of things I do. I never try to control my kid. So just so we don't get that confused, right? There's a lot of dads who say, I live with principles, right? I have these values. and those values are just burdened and forced on their kids, right? They don't allow their kids any freedom. They don't allow their kids to make choices. They don't allow their kids to make mistakes. So that's the other side of it, right? Besides the neglect or the abuse, you also have that over controlling. And I can tell you, man, honestly, in my home, one of the greatest things is to see my kids take that freedom that, and I don't want to say that I've given them because it's theirs, right? It's already there. But to use the freedom that they have to express who they are, to have conversations with me, like now that they're older, they're adults. They're not kids anymore. So we can go on a walk and we can talk about things that are bothering them, right? And it's mutual. It's not me always demanding or me always having the answer. My kids, because they've been constantly, told how to think and not what to think, now I see that come back to me, right? I see them have their own expression, have their own preferences. They're their own people. And it by no means is it perfect, right? There's always mistakes, there's always arguments, there's always things we disagree on. But what a good way to build healthy family when to always promote freedom, to always promote, right, having good values and living by them, right? Not just saying I'm a man of integrity and I believe in treating everybody with respect, right? The golden rule, right? Treat others how you would treat yourself. How many people lie to themselves and say that they live by that golden rule and they won't even give that value to their kids? They'll constantly abuse them and torment them, like we see on social media, and they won't be man enough, or not, I won't even say man enough. They won't be human enough to give their kids that golden rule, right? To treat others how you would want to be treated. To a degree, it shows you, or it's almost admitting how bad we were treated or how bad they were treated, right, prior. Because if we can't treat our kids good, if and these are values that we say we want to live by, then that to me that's just a reflection of how we've been treated, right? It's passing down that generational trauma.
So that was a good one.
What do you got?
That was a good one, man. I think you know it too. I do want to go back to one thing you said. So honestly, actually, I would like to directly address, being human enough to give them the respect that you're saying you'd give all people. I'll respect anybody the way I want to be treated, or treat others the way I want to be treated. Except kids. This goes back to my question. It's acted on verba, deeds not words. Don't tell me what you're gonna do. Show me. Live that way, and I'll see that's how you live. Don't say, "Oh, that's how I live," because I'm watching you, and you don't live that way. You use the words, but you don't embody it. You espouse it.
Yeah,
And when parents say that, and they don't treat their kids that way, I can't fucking help but sit there and look at them and ask myself again: are children second class citizens in the United States of America? I can't come to another. They are. They
yeah,
truly are. They're allowed to be hit in school. They're allowed to be hit at home. They're allowed to be constantly controlled and forced to do things they don't. When we look at certain situations, actually, fuck it, I'll go in the deep end. When we look at one of the most embarrassing times of American history is slavery. To me, I hate that aspect of our country. It is what it is. That was the history. That's what they did. It fucking sucks because people like to overlook that. I love America. Well, there's certain parts of America that are jacked up. All countries have it. I'm not saying America's special. All countries had slaves. All countries did really shitty things. You can't hang on to that, but you can learn lessons from that. There are multiple instances where white people would say, if you give them this freedom, they're going to jack it up. They can't run themselves. They can't. Second class citizens.
yeah,
Take slave out of that. Put kid into that. I can't give my child the freedom to choose when they want to eat. They'll just have ice cream all nonstop. They'll just stay up all night and do this. Why do you think the worst of your kid? Why do you think they're so dumb? Like, what is you're raising the kid who you're saying is going to act like that? And so when I've had people, what do you mean second class citizen? Well, let's think about slaves. They were second class citizens. They didn't have the same, and until we went to like the civil rights and all that, there still was less than. It's separate but equal, right? Kids aren't even getting that. There's no way we can say that we are treating everybody fairly or that we are a truly free country if our children are not getting the same access to freedom that we have. And and that's what I wanted to touch base on from what you said is, You said you don't give it to them. And it's funny that you had to catch yourself and correct yourself because people do think you would. And you said, look, they had it from the beginning. I just kind of guide it and I kind of like, I counsel, you lead, you're a mentor. That's what a father is.
Yeah.
But I too, when you said it, thought it, and then had to correct myself because it's so ingrained in us that we are the gatekeepers to that. They're free people. They are little individuals. Your job is to keep them alive. You know, make sure they have food and shelter when they're young, and then as they grow, you don't slap them for running the road. You teach them, hey, this road's busy. These cars go really fast. They might not see you, so you got to stay with me. Okay, they can see me. I'm taller. Literally, it's a conversation. There's no need for physical violence in that at all. Yet we see it time and time again. As they get older, when they make mistakes, they get the shit kicked out of them. They challenge or they speak up and try to share their opinion. They get the shit kicked out of them. And people will say, oh, you're being extreme. You know, a spanking is not getting the shit. Let's once again say what spanking is. You're premeditating a murder of their ass. You're premeditating, we're going to go into this room, pull your pants down, I'm going to wind up with force and hit you so hard it leaves a mark. You're going to cry, you're going to feel pain, and I'm going to say, I taught you a lesson. You taught them that some people are allowed to hit them. You taught them that if they make a mistake, they're going to receive physical punishment. So they should hide it if they ever make a mistake. If you spill it, like try to hide it. Hide it from dad, hide it from them so you don't get hurt. That's not a healthy relationship. That's not a child that's going to grow up and be a revolutionary and say, I'm free and I'm going to speak my mind. I'm going to own what I do. We say all the time inside FOE, you got to own your shit. You know, guys all on the internet, oh, self-improvement, the masculine space. Own yourself. When you were terrified as a kid for every mistake you made and you hit it, how are you supposed to grow up and then own it? You're afraid to own it. You never built that muscle. You don't know how to do it. And it's not even your fault. You know, and that's why I see some of these TikTok parents, I'm like you said, they're just as broken. But I have less sympathy because I found a way to turn things around, man. I made certain choices. I decided not to follow that cycle. So as an adult, you got to make that choice. I don't feel bad for you. You were beat growing up. Okay, get over it. That sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. It stunted you. You have to face it. There's a lot of work you got to do. I get it. But you're an adult. Suck it up. It's time to help you because you got to heal you to help your child. And I know that maybe it's crass. You know, maybe I'm being a little insensitive to it, but it's frustrating when you see an innocent kid being a victim of their grandparents' way of raising their parents and their parents' parents. You know, like poverty cycle's real. The pain cycle's real. Somebody's got to be the bigger man to just break that fucking wheel and start a whole new course. Like I said, we don't need to, like they say, we got to, I can't even think of the fucking phrase right now, man. I'm thinking about all these fucking kids who are on TikTok and their parents are sitting there laughing at them while they're getting, you know, mocked openly. And you just want to sit there and like, I would love to sit there and send a DM to the parent and be like, yo, hey, this isn't good for their development. Like, let's find another way to do this. And they would just be like, look at this nerd trying to tell me my kid loves me. And you're just like, man, nope.
Yeah, my kid,
I can see
loves
you.
me. Yeah.
Dude, a lot of the people we work with are coming from situations like that. But now we see it. Where back in the day, we didn't see the men we face now as when they were kids. But 20 years from now, when we're old and we're looking down and they're our age, they're going to be fucked. They're going to be all messed up. And who knows?
Well, that's
like
what I was trying to explain before, right? Is it's more pronounced and televised now, or mainstream, right? Where it's supposed to be going the other way, right?
Yeah.
Could you imagine if women were fighting for their rights, and as it was happening, more husbands were beating on their wives more and more and more, and they were telling their wives
that's a great example.
But that's what's happening.
They were looking to vote, and we're TikToking. Look at this woman trying to read, trying to drive a car. Let's hit her. You gotta make sure you spank her. Oh my dude, that is what is happening.
Yeah,
holy shit.
It's promoted. I'm sure Pfizer's behind it or something.
Yeah, I do. Nothing's coincidence. Well, you know what? You're right. I said something earlier, and obviously, you know, whatever you're going to say, address that. But let's end this one with some tips, some tricks, some actions we do take. You're right. We got to bring some positivity to this. So some literal action points. But you did have something you wanted to say.
No, let's stay with the positivity. I was going to go on a spanking rant, but we got plenty of episodes to do that.
Okay.
Kick off,
All right,
yeah, go
so
ahead. Kick off the positive stuff.
all right, so well, what do you do if you're not going to spank? All right, communication's key. One of the biggest things I do, I have a lot of conversations. I talk to my kids as if I was speaking to you right now. Obviously, I'm assuming you're an adult watching this. The way I speak to Anthony is how I speak to my son. You know, the way I speak to my wife is the way I speak to my daughter. This literally almost the same language. You know, I don't curse at my wife that often. I do curse at Anthony when we're talking. I let it flow, as you saw in this episode. So I don't do that with the kids. But outside of that, I will say, hey, bud, how is your day? What's going on? We talk about God, life, death, taxes, theft. We talk about fitness. We talk about nutrition. We talk about all these things. And it allows them to know that not only am I open for to talk about whatever, but I'm not going to judge them on what they say. And an important part of the other side of that communication is when they say something to me, I never come down on it. So if they say, "Hey, Dad, you know, I can't even think of anything like a recent example." If they have an issue with something, if they're talking about alcohol, they're talking about sex, they're talking about dating, I'm never like, "Ooh, you got a girlfriend?" Like, no, I'm like, "All right, cool. Like, you're into girls. Like, what are we doing? You know, it's what awesome. That's great. You know, here's what me and your mom how it worked out. You know, if you're talking about drugs or alcohol, I'm never like, you won't do it. I'll say, hey, well, here's why I don't drink alcohol, and you know, and I've tried these drugs, and here's my experience with them. Dude, there is literally nothing that is off limits, and there's nothing they could say where I would be pissed off. So earlier today, you know, my son wanted to go in the hot tub, and he went down there. You know, he's sitting there like getting himself chilled, going his little like chill session. The radio's up. You know, he's coming around. There's water everywhere. I didn't go down there and feel the need that I had to correct everything immediately. You know, he had said, "Can I go in there?" I said, "Yeah." I didn't say, "Hey, man, make sure you remember that if you lean to this side, it's pushing some water out. Make sure that you what." I didn't say any of that. I went down there. There's music was blasting, water was everywhere. And I was like, "All right, you having fun, man? Cool." You know, like I can't go in. Right? Like I still my stitches are still in, so I can't go in with them. But things were wrong. There was a mess, and I didn't care because not everything is a hill to die on. So that was kind of the second part is communicate and don't think you've got to correct everything. My kids do a lot of things I don't like the way they do it, but it's because that's my way of doing it. I've got to let them do their way of doing it. And I'm not saying let
Yeah,
him like my son afterwards is like, "Hey man, make sure you do this afterwards." But in the moment, there's no need for me to go ballistic. Whoa, look at all that. Who cares? Like, who cares? It's not that big of a deal. It's not the end of the world. So don't think that you have to correct everything all the time or else they're going to turn into bad kids. It's better that you just connect with them and remind them, hey, before you go to bed, make sure you wipe up the water. That's way easier than screaming at somebody saying, "Oh my God, look what you did."
yeah. And when you do it that way, Zach, they hear you, right? They're actually listening because it's not from a top down, right? And I know this is going to sound weird, and parents don't want to hear this, but it's from a mutual, even playing field,
It really
right?
is. It's eye to eye.
There's certain things that my kids, I don't have to flex on them. They know dad's in charge. They know dad has this, right? But when we communicate, when we talk, we're even. um, no, I think that's great, man. I think that's a really excellent job with keeping frame, having control, and when because your kids are going to mess up all the time. It's just normal. It's what kids do, right? They're
They're
they're,
kids.
they're
They are
learning, they're
kids.
developing. Yeah.
Exactly.
They don't know about boundaries. They don't know about responsibility, right? It's our job to guide them through this. It would be like if imagine if your child was trying to walk and you punish them because you're like, I want you to take 3 steps and you only took one.
Whack.
Right? Think about how ridiculous that is. Because for some reason we understand it's they're going through the development, but then it becomes a certain point when they start walking and they start talking. Now we think that they should just know everything, right? We hold them to way too high of a standard. I was going to say with in my home and with my kids, and one really good tool that parents can use is win-win negotiation. I think that is a really clear way that you can not only just disarm or diffuse arguments and conflicts. Right? It's a tool that you can use if there's something going on and you have your set way and they have their set way. Meet in the middle, right? So both of you win because most of the time, every interaction that parents have with their kids is win lose, right? Because we're the parents, we're in charge. And the reason I say how it's important when they grow up, right? We want our kids to embody that win-win mentality, right? I want my kids to go out and to start a business, and I want them to understand that that business isn't just about always winning and your customers losing, right? Just always getting that money. What it means is the win on your end is you do something, you provide value, and your customers win because they get that value. And I think that's why um, a lot of the younger generation, right, they have this more entrepreneurial mindset, right? They don't want to go to college anymore. I mean, everybody wants to make NFTs and get Lambos, but it's an important lesson, win-win negotiation. And I'm gonna kick to you because my dogs might go insane in a minute.
Nice. Family's home. That's a good thing. I want to give a shout out to Cosmo, the spiritual pimp. He says, hey, good to hear your voice. Brother, I hope you're staying warm. I saw you had a cold time up there, so hopefully you're bundled up, man, and just chilling. But it's great to see you doing well. And to the point on, the win-win. Dude, again, we can't get mad at kids for being kids. We can't be a parent who's so wound up on trying to do everything right that we forget that we can allow our kids to do things wrong. Your journey of being a good man, that means you have to accept that you have some flaws. And you turn those flaws into features. Every mistake your child makes is an opportunity to learn. And again, people love to take that and run with it. Oh, you let your kid spill water, that means they're going to be a crackhead when they grow up. Nope. That's not how that works. We keep conflating these things. We keep thinking, if you allow your kid, if you don't spank your kid, all of a sudden they're going to be, and then they come up with like the pussy hat wearing guys who are marching around like male feminists, but they're actually trying to sneak their way to win. Dude, the things that have been said to me when I say I don't hit my kids trips me out. And I'm a
Yeah,
pretty like rational dude. Like I'm pretty level headed than normal, but people come up with some weird shit just because I say I don't hit my kids. It's the
you're gonna make them
craziest
weak.
thing. Yeah, you're gonna have a weak son. I'm like, dude, bring your kid. We're gonna fight. We're gonna be like a human like cockfights. Like my kid against your kid. That's how they're a real man, right? Let's put him in a ring and show you. Like, are you kidding me? Like it's the craziest thing that the guys think. Oh, if I flex on him, he'll flex on others. If I hit him, it makes him prepared for the world. Bro, all he knows is that he's gonna go out the world alone because his dad is gonna freak out and hit him if he doesn't do it perfectly. And now the kid's trying to walk a fine line of staying the course into what dad wants, and he forgets what's my course. Where do I want to go? How do I want to walk? What do I want to do? Am I doing this for me? Am I doing it for dad? And I've had many talks with you specifically on this because that is one thing that I would never ever want my kids to think they've got to do what dad wants. And there are times where you obviously, if your kid's talking to you, you want to tell them your input without dictating the decision they make. You just kind of want to like object, like, hey, here's what I'm seeing, but you do you. And I think you said it, offering information or having a discussion without influencing their choice or the value that they're placing on the choice they're making. And it was great insight for me. But imagine if I never took the time to say, hey, I want to talk to somebody about fatherhood, for me to know how to properly speak to my kid. And that's the missing link. These dads are like, well, I only know one way, the way my dad brought me up. I don't know another way, therefore I'm not going to do it another way. And it's like, dude, I get you love going to the same Chinese food restaurant every day. You love going to grabbing the same beer. Like you love doing the same thing because men are very simple beasts of burden. Like we work hard and we do the very simple things we like grilled chicken, broccoli, and water. That's a great meal. Somebody can have that all the time, get fucking jacked and lean. Other people, it's a PBR, some fried buffalo wings, and then watching the football game. And they do that every single Sunday. Men do that with their parenting. They only have one mode. I'm the disciplinarian. Don't make me get out of this damn chair. That's a lot of homes. Don't make mom come get me, because if so, you're going to get a whooping. Man, you've got to be more. You've got to evolve, or else you're going to be one of the dads who talk about who's a degenerate. You're going down the wrong path, man. You're devolving, and your kids are going to devolve. And you're going to be a part of this cycle where your kids are falling apart, and they're the have-nots, while kids like me and Anthony, they're going to be the haves, because we took the time and invested in them. They're going to grow. They're going to have healthy relationships. And when they trip, we're there to catch them. We're there to guide them. Or when they trip, we let them fall. They learn their lesson, but we're there to bandage them up, give them a hand, pick them up, and let them go walking forward. Things happen in life. Nothing's perfect. As you said, dude, my family, I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old. You can just imagine the fucking chaos. One's a boy, one's a girl. Like they just do their thing. It's incredible. But at the same time, there's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of conflict resolution. There's a lot of running around. And when I say conflict, I don't mean like they're at each other's face. It's just like, what are we going to do next? And, this or that. The kids will go at each other. We'll have discussions. We'll go over these things. What do you want to do next? We're always going on adventures. not everybody's eye to eye on all of this, but we learn how to like, all right, you got this one and I'll support you. The next one I'll get. And the kids are learning to do that with each other. I see it play out all the time. It's incredible how they're emulating that because they see my wife and I do it.
Absolutely.
We handle our conflicts appropriately with respect. And now my kids are doing it. And at 12 and 9, dude, they're on a good path. They're on a better path than I was on, which means they're going to reach greater heights. And that's the whole point of this, at least for me, is to leave more than I came into the world with. And then have them do the same. So my grandkids are going to be better than my kids because I'm not going to get everything right. And they're going to improve upon certain things. And my grandkids will be better than my kids who are better than me. We talk legacy all the time.
Plan.
That's living legacy, man.
Yeah. No, that's the plan, right? That's why we do this. And just to add before we wrap it up, um, there's nothing strong about hitting kids, right? There's nothing strong about punishing kids or using your power over your kids. I think what real strength comes from in fatherhood is having the courage to have those tough conversations, right? To put yourself in a spot where you actually have to listen to what your kid's going through, have the patience, right? To not always overcorrect or correct things that they might be doing wrong, but to actually just be with your kids and enjoy the time, right? Stop being stressed out or anxious. Stop worrying about controlling everything. And I'm not just saying that this, I think this will happen. I know this will happen, right? I know if you take the time and focus a little bit on yourself and move that focus away from your kids' behavior to how you're behaving, you'll be able to enjoy the interactions with your kids, right? And like you were just saying, Zach, that will definitely reflect back on to the whole family, right? Everybody's taking the lessons. Everybody's following suit, right? They again, going back to treating people properly, right? Everybody carries on that tradition. And it's not easy, but it's definitely the way that we build stronger families.
Well, it's definitely worth it. And it's definitely a part of the solution to what we're seeing on platforms like TikTok. So if we can make a dent there, if we can get that content going here, and if that can get the improvement going in the home, and if that can create the results that you start to see that, hey, this shit actually works, and that leads to you actually speaking up to your friends because you see that the results work based off the actions you learned from Oaken Rock Fatherhood, we've done our job. But for it's like we have to have 100 videos or 100 hours of content to get 1 hour to that dude, to get one proper minute with that child. But if we can do that, dude, it's fucking worth it. Because you have no idea who that kid will influence or who that kid will become now that that family relationship changed. And that's the point of what we're doing here. And before we wrap this up, another shout out to Finn, who said it's a labor of love. It truly is, man. Every single day, I love waking up. I love what I do. I love my life. I love the mission that I'm on. I love watching my kids grow. Dude, I cannot be one of those men who's like, oh, life sucks. It's too good. Relationship with the kids is too good. It's not a ball and chain. That's fuel, man. It motivates me to be higher and go further. So that's how we're gonna roll with it, man. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna keep on doing it. If you enjoy it, obviously make sure you like, subscribe, smash the like button, as they say. But it's been another episode of Oaken Rock Fatherhood. Anthony, great talking to you, man.
As always, brother. Appreciate it.
For everybody who tuned in, thank you very much for your time. And again, I hope we brought something of value, but don't just listen to what we're saying. Go out and apply it. You guys take care. Have a great night.